This Saturday, it's the Ferdinand Folk Festival in Ferdinand, Indiana. Hello and welcome to WJTS-Inform. I'm your host, Bill Potter. Joining me in the studio is Marc Stezyck. Marc is one of the committee members, the ramrod behind the Ferdinand Folk Festival, but there's a group of people that work really hard to put this event on. Marc, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is year 6. And
it's amazing that we've been through, since 2010, 6 of these Ferdinand Folk Fests, and every one of them is better and better and better.
Right, and this year's no exception, obviously, but backtracking a little bit before we go further, this is probably the 6th in.form show that you and I have done. And you continue to have me back year after year.
It's surprising to me too. But we're glad that you're back, Marc. You know, it is a magic event in Ferdinand. Ferdinand, a small town, does a great job with this event, and it's a free event. And I think it's one that just is highlighted throughout the state and Kentucky.
Yeah, we work very hard to maintain that it's a free event. We've never charged for parking. We basically want it to be as family friendly as possible, and I have a family now of 4, so and my twins are 4 years old, or will be later this month, so I know what it's like to go places and have to pay for ticket fees to get in, parking as well, so we always wanted it to be an event where a family of 4 or more could come and it wouldn't be a big dent in their pocketbooks, and we've achieved that. And it's like, as you mentioned, it's not without just a tremendous amount of hard work, because to maintain the free nature of the event, we have to fight every year for funding and sponsorship and grant opportunities, and we're so gracious for our premier sponsor, but all of our sponsors. Our premier sponsor is Best Home Furnishings, by the way, obviously.
And has been for the past 3 years?
This is their third year, of pretty big, substantial in our books, donation of $5,000 each year. And now we have Kimball Electronics on board for the first time as a platinum investor, and Access Storage now is a platinum investor. And interestingly enough, and I'm going to say their names, and they really don't want me to say their names, but I'm going to, because anyway, I think it's important. Kiana Woodstock is a double platinum investor, which is actually $2,000, and they actually give us $1,969 because Kiana Woodstock is a celebration of Woodstock, right?
Right.
Which took place in 1969. Andy and Cheryl Verkamp have done that now for 21 years, and it's just a phenomenal event for them. But they've supported us now for 3 or 4 years at that level from an individual basis, basically. So thank you, Andy and Cheryl, and all of our sponsors.
It is a neat event that just pulls so many people together from everywhere, and the community itself, and Du Bois County. And it's a free event, and I know this weekend, folks, there's a blue million things you can do. There are so many fests and church picnics and so much going on. But the neat thing with Ferdinand is, if it's free, you don't have to feel bad about going to two events. You can go to Ferdinand, you can come and go as you please, which really makes that neat.
Right, and make no mistake, I mean, Snellville's having their 150th celebration. Holland is doing their community event. We absolutely encourage people to go to those events, because those are tremendously important. They are trying to raise money for their individual needs in the community. It's important to support those events, and we certainly wouldn't want to take away from them or harm them in any way. Our weekend has always been this weekend for the past 6 years, so that's why we're doing it, how we're doing it, and when we're doing it. So stop by theirs, come to ours later. Yeah, that's what we would encourage.
And that's what I really notice about people when I'm there, is there are people who come and go throughout the day, and there are who come and stay the whole day, some who come just at the end, some who come just at the beginning, but it's easy to do that because there's no gates. You just kind of come into the park.
Right, and I would also like to maybe touch on a little bit that those festivals, and also like our Heimat Fest in Ferdinand, those are hometown festivals and meant to foster community pride and those type of things, and a lot of different service organizations benefit from those, from the sale of food and things like that. Our event is designed more for, obviously, the local people, of course, Du Bois County, Ferdinand in particular, but it's also designed to showcase our community in a light of being progressive and forward-thinking. And if there are people that visit the park that day, and they later have an opportunity to either move to or relocate within Du Bois County, we want them to think about moving to Ferdinand. And that's the whole idea behind this cultural phenomenon at this point that we put together. So there's an inherent difference between the missions of each festival. equally as important. You know, we need growth to survive in a small community, and small communities also need internal support for their organizations. So equally as important, so support all of them if you can, and then stop by ours to cap off your night.
Now let's talk about the music that you will have, because you actually have, and some people may not realize, there's 2 stages. One is the market stage, which is a nice little stage that I guess some beginning artists can play, or just some people who just enjoy playing music will play on. And that's kind of like the entertainment between the main stage events. So let's talk about the music that will be at the Ferdinand Folk Fest, because the Ferdinand Folk Fest is music.
That's what it's about, right? That's what it started with, and it's this year is absolutely, and we say this every year, right?
We do.
But really mean it this year, and not that we didn't mean it last year, but this is the most diverse lineup of music that we've ever had, and you know, starting with the headliner Elizabeth Cook. So Elizabeth Cook is. She has her own show on XM Radio, the Outlaw Country channel, called Apron Strings. She also had an album, I think in 2010, that Rolling Stone listed in their top 50 of the year. Worked with the likes of Todd Snyder, who we're starting to get over our hard feelings for, but also guys like Dwight Yoakam and things like that, and is at almost any given Saturday night, or she can be seen on the Opry, Grand Ole Opry stage. So she's a favorite of the Grand Ole Opry, and just a phenomenal talent. She's our headliner, and coming with a band of 5, and she's playing after a band called the Black Cadillacs, and the Black Cadillacs are probably the most rock and roll band we've ever had at the fest. So they're going to be loud, they're going to be great, they have great songs. We were a little bit in thinking when we were putting the lineup together, do you put this alternative kind of Americana country person behind the Black Cadillacs, and you know, is she going to be okay? Well, I've seen Elizabeth Cook perform, and she is she's engaging. If you ever listen to Apron Strings on Outlaw Country on XM Sirius Radio, it's a phenomenal show. She's funny and she's very engaging. So we're confident that she's going to be able to hold her own and win over the crowd. But Black Cadillacs out of Tennessee. Before them, the Way Down Wanderers, I believe, out of Chicago, and they're hard to pigeonhole. They're kind of a bluegrass, kind of new wave folk thing. Hard to describe, but phenomenal instrumentation. Their melodies are solid and their harmonies are tight. And they're actually also going to do the songwriters workshop that we traditionally have up in the Upper Shelter House with the Folk Jammers, which is the group that all day in the Upper Shelter House invite you to bring your own instruments in, and they're just going to jam. I mean, that's what they do.
Yeah.
And they've been with us since year 1 as well. So Hymn for Her, I think, is out of Pennsylvania, and this is another one that's hard to pigeonhole. It's 2 people, guy and a girl, some type of weird homemade guitar that's really loud, has some fuzzy overtones and drums, and they make a lot of noise, and it's an interesting experiment. So, and they travel with an Airstream. They come in an Airstream trailer, and they're going to be selling their CDs at the Folk Festival, but they will also be selling their own brand of hot sauce. So that is a first, I believe, at the Ferdinand Folk Festival.
I think so.
Yeah. So before that, we have Nick Dittmeyer, who's coming from Clarksville or New Albany, Indiana. He's played a fundraiser for us before, so we know he's talented and brings a lot of energy to the festival. Georgia Brown, out of Arkansas, is actually one of Best Home Furnishings sales reps' daughters, and amazingly talented. Just a kid, like 16 or 17 years old, has a couple CDs, and we're looking forward to having her. And then opening the main stage is Nick Pay, who is our winner of the inaugural Ferdinand Folk Festival Singer-Songwriter Contest. I think it was in August was when we had that event. So very talented, can't wait for it. And then you mentioned the market stage, and Haley Payne, who is the winner of the under 18 division of the singer-songwriter competition, will be playing 4 sets. She's from Owensboro, just a great talent, and probably one of those that we would hope to have on the main stage next year. That's how much we think of her and her talent level. And then a local favorite, Andy Hagedorn, will play the last couple sets on the market stage. So it's a full day of nonstop music activity.
It is, and it keeps going. Now, the weather it has always been good. We hope the weather holds out. We do want to point out,
saying that.
Yeah, the one thing is it's an odd day because it starts really warm. The day will be very warm,
right,
and then it will get chilly as the night goes along. So don't feel bad about bringing a sweatshirt.
Bring
about bringing a jacket.
Yeah.
But what can people bring? What do you? Can they bring a blanket? Can they bring lawn chairs?
Yeah, we encourage you to bring blankets and lawn chairs and just basically anything to be comfortable. I mean, there are kids that actually haul over sofas.
Couch right in front of the main stage.
It's been 2 years of, I think, couch being there the day after, and they have to come get it later. But yeah, bring whatever you need to be comfortable. There are coolers that are allowed in the park. Absolutely no glass, or we will have issues, because that's one of the big deals that we cannot
Sure.
allow. So yeah, sunscreen, because it's going to be so sunny and so nice.
It is. Right. It's going to be perfect. Now, what about tarps? If somebody wants to bring a tarp.
Tarps were, you would obviously need to use your head where you would put that, like a pop-up tent. I would assume you're
going to block somebody's view, so go in the back.
Yeah.
Go to the back if you're going to do
it's an interesting phenomenon. So last year we had the drones and things like that that flew up, and we had some overhead imagery and whatever. And there were a couple, especially like the sound guy, he's going to have a tent that's going to be allowed, right?
Yeah.
But if you look at it overhead, you can see the parting of the crowd afterwards, and it takes up so much space, and that's one we have to have. So if there are other people that start bringing pop-ups, obviously use your head, and they would have to be put to the side, and things like that. So,
and there are people that have their spots. So
they
they need to come early. You might want to come early, or you can come early, come late. The nice thing is, no matter where you go, no matter how far back you are or how close you are, it really sounds good everywhere. It really does.
Our sound guy has been with us since year
Mark
one.
Headley.
Mark Headley from Vincennes, and just really super nice guy, and just an amazing job. And I'm helping with the Huntingburg Blues Fest, and Mark's going to help us there. Speaking of Mark, we have a new stage this year. For the first time, we're going to use a stage similar to what we used at the 175th. So if people went to the 175th, and there were a lot of people that did, that's the kind of stage that we're going to have. So we're in our 6th year, and we're kind of in a transition point where we've learned how to raise money. We've learned how to raise more money now, and then supplement that with some fundraisers and things like that, so we can afford the more traditional fare, if you will, for concerts. And not that what we ever had for the first 5 years was bad. Thank you, OFS, for the use of the trailer and the way Rock Emmert and his crew decorated it, and the aesthetics of it. It was beautiful, and it served its purpose. But it was time to maybe move forward, and this is definitely a new look for the fest, and hopefully be something we can keep going for years to come.
Now, one thing we want to point out, parking. There's going to be parking at the Forest Park lot, at the YMCA lot, and then side streets. You may have to walk a little distance, but not really much.
Right, it's not much, and it never ceases to amaze me how, the Forest Park lot, the band parking lot, if you're familiar with Ferdinand, which is basically you turn east on 15th Street, and it's to your left, and then there's the junior parking lot, which is to your right. They stay open almost the entire day, because people are cramming to try to get into the fest and park as close as they possibly can. You're literally maybe a quarter of a mile away from the park via a trail, an asphalt trail. It's not like you have to trudge through anything else. And there's so much parking that's available all day up there. Would encourage people to go there. If that's full, which would surprise me if people take advantage of it, there's the parking lot that's over by the track and field and football stadium, and that's just, since they put that access road in between the corporation office and the gym there, that's just basically, a hop, skip, and a jump to the trails to the park too. So there's an abundance of parking if people would just take advantage of it. Parking at the park gets tight probably around 2:30 or 3. And is hard to get in and out of, because it's, everybody's. So we draw a lot of people from out of town who aren't necessarily familiar with Ferdinand and the places. And we do have parking signage up. Before you tell me, do we have parking signage up? We do have parking signage up, but a lot of people, myself included, if I go out of town, I'm traveling listening to Siri or somebody else tell me where I'm going to turn and where I'm going to go. So they're going to a coordinate on their GPS, which is the park.
Right.
So that creates a little bit of an issue for us, but that's usually at its height around 2, 3, 4. The biggest crowd will be 6:30 or 7 o'clock, right ahead of Elizabeth Cook. So just kind of.
But those of us who are locals park in the parking lots and walk a little bit, and it's a nice walk.
Right.
Well, Mark, there's so much to talk about with the Ferdinand Folk Fest, but we're out of time. We just, I guess we need to.
We just got started.
I know, and you talk forever. we just want people. If you've never experienced And I think that's the word for the Ferdinand Folk Fest. If you've never experienced the Ferdinand Folk Fest, make sure you do this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's more than just the music. It's the environmental things that we bring to it. And then just children's activities all day long. So I would encourage people to go to ferdinandfolkfestival.com/schedule to see a full day of events and plan your day.
And there's also the Ferdinand Fondo.
Ferdinand Folk Fest
early in the
Fondo,
morning,
yeah.
the
Du
biking
Bois
cyclist.
County Multisport puts that together with Du Bois County Tourism, and that's there's a link to their website. They're still accepting registrants, so encourage you to check that out as well. It's a great event.
It's a weekend to be around. Don't say there's nothing to do, because there is plenty to do, and the Ferdinand Folk Festival is one of them. The music starts about 11:30.
11:30.
Okay, and goes till about 9.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and thank you. I know we're on WJTS, but WBDC has been one of our partners from the get-go on this thing. So thank you for everything you do for us.
WBDC is glad to do it. Mark, thank you very much. Look
you.
forward to seeing you on Saturday.
Absolutely.
We'll see you on Saturday, the Ferdinand Folk Festival. Thanks for watching WJTS in Form. We're local people watching local people.